Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 54 of 2026. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on X at OBKiev. Follow us at The Oddsbreakers. Follow us on social media / The Oddsbreakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with the NFL. If you like to support the Oddsbreakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any of the winning cappers to get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. If nothing else, please visit the Oddsbreakers and become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. We have a great show for you today. Will Hill is back to break down some NFL. Obviously, lots of talk going on in the NFL. Lots of drama going on at ESPN, as you know. Will's going to break down what's important from a sports betting perspective. We're going to go division by division as well as his futures. And Will might be the best future bettor in the NFL, actually in a lot of sports, that I know. But going back to some of the drama, what's funny is I tweeted out something that's going like semi-viral. I just asked about Pat McAfee, and they're talking about over a $60 million contract. I'm like, well, I mean, ESPN's giving it to him. Who are they bidding against? And I like Pat, like I mentioned before, but it's just kind of interesting. They're firing a bunch of people, and I agree with some of them. I disagree with a few, probably. I briefly looked. But my whole point is this. If you're a ESPN, you're a production company as well as a media company. You're paying Pat McAfee $60+ million, and yes, he pays for his crew. But wouldn't it be a much better economy of scale if you maybe hire someone yourself and take on the production's cost, being that, well, you're a studio, or you have studios at ESPN? You're literally a huge cable station. Streaming station. Can't you pay J.J. Watt $15 million and then the production costs might only end up $5 million because you have all the supplies anyway? You got travel, of course, but you're traveling with all your game day guys anyway, right? Doesn't that make sense? It's kind of interesting. Maybe J.J. Watt doesn't want to work for them, but I'm starting to think maybe just the people that ESPN picks to talk about football, the analysts, you would say, the commentators, maybe they're not that good. Or maybe people just quit trusting ESPN because of a dark history of extreme politics. Through the ownership of Disney, they casted aside a lot of people in what they believe in. Once you hire people that alienates people, you're also going to be put with a lot more scrutiny for every single thing you say. So it kind of has a double effect. You're losing people and you're being judged a lot more, So people probably lost trust with them. So that's why they're paying a show that's already produced. And they don't even have to deal with it. And that's probably the way Pat McAfee wants it. But the truth is that, no, they're not bidding against anybody. They're just incompetent and they have to go that direction for ratings. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I mean, this whole tweet, getting a lot of people buzzing on it. But, I mean, what I meant to say was there are probably a lot better ways a media company could pay for talent. Maybe they can start with apologizing for some of the things they did in the past. But they have a lot of work to do to develop that brand equity that they lost over the last 10 or 15 years. Anyways, this is a football show, and I want to get back to football. So we actually have to announce that we released our Survivor at Splash Sports, $50 buy-in. And this Survivor emulates the greatest Survivor contest in the country, as it has double picks on Thanksgiving and double picks on Christmas. It's just one of those getting ready and prepping yourself for the big one. We put it up on Splash Sports at that price point of $50 so people can kind of get their feet wet and still play a Survivor contest that can pay over $100,000. We'll see how many people join. But just our playoff bracket last year, Survivor, was over 1,000 people. So we're hoping to get a lot of people in this, the Odds Breakers promoted and Splash Sports partnered Survivor. $50, 20 picks, double weeks on Christmas, double weeks on Thanksgiving. So please get in that Survivor and let's grow this thing big. All right, without further ado, let's get into our wonderful guest, talking a little MLB and NFL, Mr. Will Hill from VSiN. $30 million in guaranteed prizes. Cash in this football season in Las Vegas with 3 Circa Sports contest entries starting at $1,000, all with no rake. Circa Million, 18 weeks of point spread action, 128 ways to win. Circa Survivor, pick one winner each week, last one standing wins. And Circa Grandissimo with $100,000 entry in over $4 million in guaranteed prizes. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere. $30 million guaranteed. Visit circasports.com for details. Now I'm very excited to welcome back one of the best cappers that I know, and Mr. Will Hill from Bear Bets, VSiN, and the Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can follow Will on X at @NotTheWillHill. And Will, are you now enjoying your time off football and basketball?
Yeah, it's look, it's good. We're almost there with the football season. The World Cup was a nice companion. It kept us company. Even if you're not a big soccer fan, between Knicks and Spurs ending, NHL Finals ending, and the start of baseball, there's always that gap. And World Cup filled it nice, but I'm ready for some American football. I'm ready for some college. Week 0, not that far away. NFL preseason, not that far away. So excited to talk to you as well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I was friends with the World Cup for a little bit. They kind of hung out. It's something to watch. It meant a lot. It means a lot. It means a lot to the world, obviously. Soccer being the most popular sport in the world. It made me feel a little bit better about some of the stuff we watch week to week during football season, as you know. But it was cool. It was cool to watch. I was disappointed in the United States. I thought they softened up, like in the biggest moment that they had. We're sitting here complaining for the guy to play, and then they shit the bed like that. I felt that I was watching like the Bears or something again. And here we are now. We're in football season. I got my Bears hat on, and I'm excited to talk about it. But Will, you're so good at baseball. I have to bring that up first, my friend. There's all kinds of craziness going on in baseball right now. I feel like the American League is kind of up for grabs, and the National League has some powerhouses. But you're probably the best futures guy that I know. Is there any value right now in the futures market, something that you like to check on during the mornings?
I think the American League is where I would look, where the Yankees are at the top of the board in terms of the odds. So are the Mariners, so are the Rays. I don't really believe in either of the 3 teams to me. And the Red Sox, the numbers dropped as they've won their 15th in a row. Just an incredible story, just completely out of nowhere. But Red Sox, Orioles, Tigers, just kind of wheeling those teams, either futures or, FanDuel lets you play exact ALCS matchup, and you get some really juicy prices. 250 to 1, 80 to 1 for Red Sox, Tigers, 150 to 1. They're just, they are some monster price. They got to worry they don't play each other, and you got to, a lot of things have to happen, but you're certainly getting paid out on that randomness, on those long odds, and you're certainly getting the bang for the buck. And I just think it's a year where anyone that gets in the playoffs can be dangerous. So Tigers, Orioles, Red Sox, I think if those teams can get in, and who knows, everyone in the American League, except for really the A's, the Angels, the Royals, and maybe start to put the Blue Jays in that category, everyone is pretty much within striking distance, pretty live. And I just think taking some shots at some long prices is something I think is worthwhile. Yeah,
everyone's got like a stud pitcher. The Red Sox are just getting by without it for now. Crochet is coming back. But I think that it's weird to see you got Cease killing it with the Blue Jays, right? The Tigers obviously with Skubal, and that's like the biggest question, trade deadlines. And I mean, like, if you keep him, do you have to unload and pay him? And like, how much is that? And like, can you afford it? Because I believe I heard you and others talking on VSiN about the fact that, the Angels screwed up completely with Ohtani.
Sure.
What do you do?
Sure. Yeah, I think Detroit will probably hang on to Skubal here. And I think that you're close enough where you give yourself a shot. There would just be such a revolt among the fans. If you're this close, you haven't won in forever. You trade basically, what is the best pitcher in baseball, one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's healthy. Look, I know it's unlikely you're going to re-sign him, but I think you have to go for it. It's tricky. I can understand the temptation. All right, let's get somebody who's controllable and we'll get a few pieces, and it's probably better long-term, and you still have a long odds, you're a long shot to win the whole thing. But I think, you're close enough where you have to give your team a shot. So I think they probably keep him here.
He'll be 30 by December, and you're starting to kind of, this is not exactly like Ohtani. It almost makes you, and it makes other teams wonder what you're going to get for him too. So maybe the offers aren't going to be quite as good as what you want either. But you got to make that run, or you got to make some big decisions later. It's a weird spot to be in as a fan too. You're just like, it's like your whole future is mortgaged by these massive contracts. It's tough to get through. But, the Red Sox, did we miss the boat on them now? I mean, would they won 14 in a row, 15, something like that, something crazy?
15 in a row. Today, as we're recording this, they go for 16 tonight in the second leg of a doubleheader. They were 80-1 to have the most wins in July. They lost the first day of July, and they have not lost since 88-32. 88-32, I believe, is the run differential, runs scored versus runs allowed. It's just been a dominant run. So I don't know that you missed the boat. I mean, look, better late than never. Sometimes there's still 10, 12-1 to win the American League. I mean, the idea is to get these things before they happen. You don't play them after the big move, so I get that. And they're going to cool off. They're going to lose at some point, you would think. But, again, they got good pitching. They're probably a bat or so short here. But, again, the American League where things are wide open, crazier things have happened than the Red Sox making a run here in the AL.
So, as a Cubs fan, I'll give you a little humble brag. I took PCA on July 3rd at 35-1 to win the MVP. 3 weeks later, almost, he is 3.5-1. And Ohtani is still minus 550. So I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I do remember PCA after the All-Star break last year and how terrible he went into a slump. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen. I think the Cubs need to produce runs because their pitching is terrible. So that's going to help him a bit too. But the thing about Ohtani is anyone should admit he's the best baseball player right now. He was the best last year. He was the best the year before. I mean, he's just the best baseball player. But if you're injured and you can't pitch, like the reason you're getting voted for MVP is because of that. I just don't see how you can get the MVP because of that this year. I think it has to go down to your batting now. I almost think just the fact that you pitched a few games should almost be forgotten. And maybe there's that fatigue that you always like to talk about, Will.
The voter fatigue, it will be a very fascinating case if he is shut down from pitching for a while. And it doesn't sound like he's close to pitching because he does have half a season. It's not like, he's made 3 starts. He's got half a season. The first half of the half, so the first quarter was dominant. The second half has been mediocre, but he's got half a season of pretty good pitching stats banked. That being said, he's won the award 1 million times. The knee is starting to look a little bulky. Do the voters get tired of voting for him? If he's not pitching, do they look for an excuse to go elsewhere? I don't mind the field. You can bet this, and it's so funny at DraftKings. Ohtani minus 500, the field plus 390, and PCA is plus 390. It's like, you know what? Why would I take PCA plus 390 when I can take and everyone else plus 390? That just makes no sense. And it's just not only shop around, but use your head sometimes in terms of like how you're attacking these markets. But I do not mind a bet on the field. I think if he's not pitching the rest of the way, you still favor him maybe because he's going to still put up good offensive numbers, you would think, and he's got the pitching numbers already registered, and I don't think you can dismiss those, but I'd say it's like 50-50, if he wins. That's if he doesn't pitch for a while. Now, I think they want him to pitch in the playoffs. They'll probably ramp him up back, September or something like that. It'll be tricky. The Dodgers, the regular season is basically 162-game preseason. It's all about getting ready for October, but your point that somebody else is live and Ohtani is no longer a lock to win this, which he usually is, I think is a valid one.
If it's 50-50, you got to grab the field. I mean, that's just what it is. That's plus 390 here. That's a good bet to me. I think this is the year you do it. And because the mindset of the Dodgers, you don't even need to play the guy until the playoffs, really. I mean, why bother? So if he's got a nagging injury, sit him a month. You're not playing him, so he wins an MVP award. So that's how I would imagine. I think plus 390 is a great bet right now. So everyone try to get to that if you get a chance. Let's get into a little NFL, my friend. And here we are. We are back talking some football, and we can go division by division. So for me, I think I went on your show a month and a half ago, talked a little bit about some of what I like. I still like most of that, but I want to start with the NFC North. As you see, I got my Bears hat on, and if you remember, I did bet the Vikings at plus 166 to make the playoffs, and I wasn't trying to kiss ass. I know you're a Vikings fan, but I still like that bet, and I don't like anything else in the NFC North. As a matter of fact, if I had to bet the Bears, it'd be under.
I like the Vikings. I like them plus 510 to win the division. Of course, shop around, maybe a little better. I mean, it was only a year ago, the year before last. They're 14-2 playing for the 1 seed, and everything from that point on went sideways, as it usually does with the Vikings. They lose that Sunday night game for the 1 seed Detroit. Darnold was terrible. The next week on Monday night against the Rams in the playoffs. They lose Darnold. They go with McCarthy. And last year, I'd say it's a disaster, but it was a misleading 9-8 because they were never really in the mix. But this still team with a lot of talent, skill position guys, coach. I think O'Connell's a little overrated, but Flores is outstanding, good on defense, and I think they could be really, really good defensively. I like Caleb Banks, a boomer bust type player with all of his injury history at the University of Florida, but a guy with a lot of talent. Flores gets the most out of his talent defensively. And it's a division where you can say, maybe the Lions missed their window. No more Ben Johnson. The Bears probably take a step back. Harder schedule, a lot of close wins last year. And the Packers, they've got their issues. How much are you getting out of Parsons? So I think the Vikings are very live here. Could that team with all that talent get to 11 wins if Murray is somehow, and I don't love Murray, I don't think most people do, but could he be like a league average 15th, 16th best quarterback and the Vikings get to 11 wins? I don't think that's crazy.
Definitely don't think that's crazy either. Vikings, I think 3 teams get to the playoffs out of this division. I think 3 teams get to the playoffs out of the West division. So there you have it. Those are the ones that are going to kind of suck everything up. And can you get another wild card out? I don't know. That's going to be tough. It's either 3 out of this one or 3 out of the West, right? I like the Niners a lot too. So it's tough. You can't do both. But let's go to the NFC South then. And I know that a lot of people are kind of high on the Saints. As you know, I'm a little bit higher on the Falcons this year because they got the new manager there. I bet the Falcons to win it at, I believe, plus 480. That's went down a little bit, but I still like the Falcons because they have the talent. What are your thoughts on the NFC South?
A lot of agreement here. I've been talked into the Falcons. Now, maybe part of it was you. I've heard other people on the Falcons. You know what? That's a good play. And I actually had them. I think I told you this. It was during Thanksgiving week last year. I was having a good week betting college basketball. A lot of early start time unders, just having a nice little week. So I said, you know what? Let me give a little back. I'll take a shot on the Falcons. I think 125 to 1 on them to win the division. They basically needed to win the table and a bunch of other things to happen. They lose a game they never should have lost to the god-awful Jets. Yep. And then they ran the damn table. And if they hadn't lost to the Jets, they would have won the division. That's the only thing that got them off track. So a massive, I don't even care if you like Stefanski or not, a massive upgrade at head coach. Raheem Morris was completely in over his head. Similar to Minnesota. Good skill guys. Good players on defense. That was a really improved defense last year. And same as Minnesota, if you get just okay quarterback play, adequate quarterback play, which might be asking a lot with Tua and Penix, those guys are certainly limited. That's also a division, Kev, where you don't need to win 12, 13 games most likely. Maybe you win it with 10. Who knows? Maybe you win it with 9 in a good tiebreaker scenario. I think plus 425 is a little too long.
Yeah, I agree. That's you got to grab that. This division. You can make an argument for every single team, literally. I mean, the Tampa Bay Bucks still has Baker Mayfield. They still have a decent coach in Todd Bowles and a good defense. The Saints better. I don't like the Saints so much. I know a lot of people are on the Saints. I think that's the other darling that a lot of people are really on. The Panthers are the ones that made it, and they can sure take a step forward. Absolutely, this division is up. How about the NFC East then? You got the Giants sitting there, and I feel like, we talked about that back in May or whatever it was, but the Giants are now kind of getting a lot of public love. Some people like the Cowboys. The Eagles are the Eagles. They're still got probably the most talent in the whole division. And then you got the Commanders that everyone seems to kind of be talking bad about. What are your thoughts about the NFC East?
I don't have a bet here. I guess Dallas could be good enough defensively, and I love the Caleb Downs pick. I know he's a big college football fan. I'm sure you're excited about his prospects. A Dallas defense that desperately needs a playmaker. I'd probably go with Dallas. Philly, I still have questions about their offense, even though, I like some of those guys. Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt, the tight end, and Mekhi Lemon. I think they did a nice job restocking, as they always do. I'd probably take a shot with Dallas. I think the Giants, maybe a year away. I get the comparisons to New England. An adult head coach, a second-year quarterback. Washington, I need to see Daniels be healthy. And here's the thing, too. Jaden Daniels, the Washington quarterback, he didn't play well when he was healthy last year. He was just in and out of the lineup. He was kind of shaky. I didn't bet it, but I guess I'd take a shot with Dallas. Don't love it, though.
Absolutely. Dallas is the other one that supposedly improved their defense, and just firing Eberflus was the best thing that they could have done. Eberflus was horrible. The Parsons trade, it's still up in the air to me. I mean, I'm not a big fan of paying one player. I know sometimes it pays off. Look at Cleveland played Myles Garrett, and eventually had to trade him because, it's not like they could really sign a ton of other people. So it gets really tricky of when the timing is to pay a player. But I think after this year, all those questions are going to be answered. So I'm excited about that. But if the Dallas defense takes a big step forward, Dak Prescott's not going to find himself in all those high variance situations, let's say, trying to make plays where they're not. And, I'm a guy that doesn't give quarterbacks too much grief if you're throwing an interception to try to win the game rather than throwing an interception like in the second quarter and, just for something stupid. I think that's much worse. So I could definitely see Dallas being a contender in this division. I think this is another division that's pretty open, but I like my Giants bet to make the playoffs as I made before, as well as over 7.5 for plus money. Now it's at minus 110. NFC West, I mean, what can you say, man? Toughest division in football. The Rams just got even richer. Seattle didn't lose that much. I did my preview on them, and Sam Darnold already proved what he was. You lost a running back, but, I mean, Charbonnet is going to be back at some point, and they just drafted Jadarian Price, so it's not like you have a lot to replace there. It's not like Walker did it all by himself. I think it was just great scheming, but obviously Clint Kubiak might be the bigger loss, in my opinion. But they're still Seattle, and they're still going to be run by that aggressive defense that they have. So it wouldn't shock me if it's Rams and Seattle in the NFC Championship again.
Yeah, nothing sexy about taking the Rams even money. Certainly San Francisco with their coach, and I like Purdy as a quarterback at a little over 3-1. That's enticing. The Cardinals at 100-1, I think, is missing a zero. If I had to bet something, I'd probably bet the Rams. But again, not sexy, not enough to bet it.
I know, 100 to 1,000, and I agree with you. It's missing a zero. It's probably missing 2 zeros for all you know. There's not much chance there. I mean, it would take utter catastrophe for them to even have a shot, at winning. I don't think I bet a lot in this division. This was another one I stayed away from. If I had to make a bet, it would have been the Niners. I guess I would have took the coach. It would have been the Niners, but it's not quite good enough for me. It was at like plus 305, plus 310. I feel like if all three players are equal, they all should be, or if all four are equal, they're all plus 300, right? Because that's the correct number. So you're going to say that there's two that are definitely better than San Fran right now, and I'm only getting plus 305, plus 310. The numbers just don't make sense for me. So, just like you thought, one of those, then I'm probably staying away from. God, I don't think this is the one division that I don't think I have one bet in, which is kind of crazy. I usually have one bet per division, so I'll have to revisit that. AFC North, what do you think about this? We have a crazy Cleveland team that is obviously going to be in the news again all year long with the drama over there with Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson coming back and how ugly that's going to look. And then the Ravens, great, but new coach, a lot of variance there. How is Lamar going to respond? And you also have a new offensive coordinator, clearly. And then you have the Pittsburgh Steelers that always breaks my bankroll because they should not be winning as many games as they have. But now they have a new coach. And then you have the Bengals. As you know, I took the Bengals back in April. It was March or April at 30-1 to win the Super Bowl. And I put a little bit at 13-1 to win the AFC. So that's my only play. But I almost feel like I'm too public now on that too. I feel like kind of everybody. It was March 1st when I made this bet. I just found it. I feel like everybody is jumping on the Bengals.
Really seems that way. I'm not on board. I guess if I had to bet somebody in the division, odds on with the Ravens doesn't interest me with Lamar. And, he's not exactly Mr. Reliable when it comes to staying on the field. And it seems like, maybe he's lost a step at this point in his career, which is big for him. Steelers at 5-1. I know they're the Steelers, but at some point that voodoo magic is going to run out, and it's not Tomlin this year, and Rodgers is a year older. I think Cleveland's probably a throwaway.
But Rodgers is friends with his family again. Maybe that does it.
I know. I'm tempted to say Cleveland just because of the defense, and who knows, maybe they get adequate quarterback play and you could steal one at 21-1. I'd probably say Cincy, but I don't love anything here. Can I see Burrow stay healthy? I mean, this is 3 years in a row they missed the playoffs. I keep hearing the defense, this is the year it's going to be better. It's going to be better. It's never better. I don't love the coach. I guess I'd take Cincy, but I'd be tempted by Cleveland, even though that's probably very much a donation.
Okay. You would take Cincy. That's fair. It sucks because we are definitely on the public side here, in my opinion. Okay, no, here's a bet. I bet the 49ers over 9.5. All right. That's what I bet. I bet them over 9.5 wins. I can't remember what the juice was, but that's what I had over there. Okay, AFC South. AFC South was interesting. You got the Jaguars kind of coming through finally. I remember – I've been on Trevor Lawrence's jock for like 3-4 years, and finally he kind of did something. But did their coach win Coach of the Year? No, I bet him Coach of the Year, and I really wanted him to. It's just one of those again. I guess I'm attracted to Jaguars losers because I remember the Peterson one too.
Yes.
So close, but so far away. I don't know what to do here. I will say that the Texans did improve their offensive line. I think the Titans are just kind of creeping now. They're kind of getting better. And then the Colts what are they with Danny Dimes? Because this was the biggest underachieving team from a Pythag status. Pythag, they should have won 10 games, but they didn't make the playoffs from that awful stretch that they had down the season. Even bringing back Phillip Rivers, that was a joke. I remember some of the crazy stuff that happened last year. Will, what are your thoughts about the AFC South?
I would take a shot with Tennessee. This team has haunted me. They've been just not only horrendous straight up, but usually the NFL, Kevin, you well know, you take some of these bad teams, these ugly dogs, they at least cover. They haven't even covered in the last couple of years outside of a couple games here and there. Just almost historically bad against the spread. I know they were historically bad against the spread 2 years ago, but I kind of like Cam Ward. I don't know if you watched the quarterback series. It seems like he's got the right makeup. He's hard on his teammates. He's a leader. I think Dable is going to uplift that offense. Salah, I think, can run a good defense. We'll see, next opportunity, second time around, not with the Jets. If he's learned something, sometimes these guys do learn something the second time around. Another division sort of like the NFC South where you probably don't need 12, 13 wins. Maybe you could steal it with 10 or 11. Probably doesn't get home, but the Titans around 8-1. That, I think, is the value play. I think the Titans could be improved, and maybe you just take the Titans plus money to make the playoffs if you think that's more likely or possible. But I think the Titans are going in the right direction with the quarterback and the coach.
Yeah, Cam Ward is saying all the right things. Now, I don't know if it's scripted or not, but he's saying some great stuff about how hard his dad worked and how he's showing up really early at the facility. I'm loving all the stuff he's saying. It's just firing me up a little bit. I think they have a nice sleeper in that draft at Singleton. I think, remember 2 years ago, Penn State Singleton was supposed to be the first pick of the draft. He was supposed to be the first running back, and then obviously he had a little tougher at Penn State. As we all know, the coach lost his job, but he's still Singleton. If I was going to bet between Jeremiah Love on the Cardinals and Alex Singleton on the Titans, I would bet Singleton has the better yards because I think that he might take the starting role over, and I'm not sure if they're going to pound Jeremiah Love into the dirt in this first year when this team's going to suck. So that's an interesting head-to-head if we ever get that market, Will. I would try to fade Love in a head-to-head market if possible. Yeah, man, I guess I repeated on the Jaguars because I think it's completely up for grabs, but it wouldn't. Maybe the value is on the Titans. What numbers you get?
Seeing 8-1, I think let me check, make sure we got an updated number, but I know it was 8-1. Can't imagine that one has moved too much. Yeah, plus 800 at DraftKings. Obviously shop around, but probably around that range.
Yeah,
as good as you're gonna get.
Yeah, I took over 8.5 with the Jaguars too, so I think that both could definitely happen. Over 8.5 of the Jaguars, and you got the massive price. And this is a division that I'm not super confident, Will, that to make the playoffs out of it. So I'd rather bet the division winner instead of to make the playoffs. Kind of like
makes sense.
Kind of like the NFC South, how you approach that one. What about the AFC East? No drama happening in the offseason in that division.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
The Sherwin-Williams Summer Sale is here. Get 30% off select paints and stains or 35% off our newest product, Emerald Symmetry, July 17th through the 27th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
There's a lot of coaching changes, which is interesting because you have two teams that have completely changed their regimes in the Miami Dolphins and, believe it or not, even the Buffalo Bills. I'm not going to lie, I like the Joe Brady hire. You know, I like it. I talked to humans about it too, and I took the Bills minus 125 to win the division. I thought that was an absolute no-brainer bet. I don't think there's any chance in the world that the Jets and Dolphins are going to do it. And then you obviously are competing with the Patriots with all the drama and finally a hard schedule. So those are my thoughts for that.
Yeah, could certainly understand it. I did bet the Bills. The Bills probably my favorite of all of these. I think that the Vrabel drama, the Super Bowl hangover, the gap between how easy last year's schedule and this year's, and you know what? Josh Allen was a rookie in 2018. They missed the playoffs ever since then. I mean, you just look, playoffs, 11, 12 wins, playoffs, double-digit wins. Knock on wood, he doesn't really get hurt. He's got about now. He hasn't gotten to the big game. He hasn't won the big game, obviously. You can't win it if you don't get there. And it's amazing with how talented he is. You know, he hasn't played in the Super Bowl, and some of it's on him. Some of it's just, bounce to the ball, a call here or there. Mahomes being on the other side, whatever it is. There's a high floor with Allen, even though he hasn't busted through. So I like the Bills. I think it's a good bet on the division.
Absolutely. I think what number is that at right now? Because
minus 125, I think.
It's still at minus 125. That is insane to me. That is such an incorrect price, in my opinion. The Bills are Joe Brady. I remember when 2019 he was the offensive coordinator for that LSU team.
Sure.
That happened to be the best team in college football history from at least an offense perspective. From my time, and I've watched the 90s, Nebraska teams and Miami teams. I still think that they were the best team in history. I'm hoping that's not a recency bias, but no, I think the Bills are a fantastic bet right here to win that division. It's still at minus 125. I recommend everybody gets on that. All right, well, here it is, the AFC West. Funny that Mahomes is kind of sitting there with plus money, and we haven't saw that in a few years. I mean, I don't know, man. I get pissed off at the whole Mahomes thing. Maybe I'm the guy that just hates the trendy thing that all the kids are rooting for. Maybe that's me. I still think he's the best quarterback from a clutch perspective in the whole NFL. He's the best quarterback right now. It's hard for me to go against that. I didn't go against that. I only bet a season win till last year. If you remember, I had the Broncos and the Chargers at 3-1 each to win, and it ended up working out as like a blended bet. But I would probably bet the Chiefs if I had to make a division bet. But I just took the Denver Broncos over 9.5 because even though they massively overachieved with 14 wins, well, their Pythag was still 11. And then the market's hanging at 9.5. And the weird thing about the AFC, it's like, you instead of the Bills in your first place, you're playing the Patriots. You're playing the Jaguars for first place. It's not like in your first place schedule. It's not like, are you playing the Ravens for your first place schedule? No, you're playing the Steelers for your first place schedule. So I kind of like the Denver Broncos over the 9.5 for me.
Could understand it. I mean, it's hard to say no to Mahomes at plus 160, although I think the Chargers could be really good because what was tough with them last year was the offensive line. They couldn't block. That's the strength of their team. I mean, they have two all-world tackles, and now you have Mike McDaniel, to really ramp up the run game, get more spacing, just more creative offensively. I still think as much as I love Herbert's talent, the arm, the ability to run, something's just missing with him. If I had to bet anything, I'd bet the Chiefs. I can understand that. I think it's a coin flip between them and the Chargers, but with Denver lurking and how good the three teams are, plus 160 is just not enough for me to take it. Although, you know what, we still have plenty of time between now and September. It's just in July, it's not something I'm rushing to bet. Agreed.
Yeah, no, it's not. You don't need to do that right now. You can kind of see how Mahomes looks that first game. It's a tough first game against the Broncos too, and it's he's supposed to play, but I mean, injury woes. He can lose a little confidence in himself that game. There's just too much can happen. I would wait until at least after that game to bet something like that. Any other futures? As I mentioned, I did Cincinnati, but any like Super Bowl or AFC to win the AFC or win the NFC, any more divisions? Want to become a better? Want to get on a path to handicapping professionally? Start by tracking every pick with full transparency using the odds breakers partnered with TallySite. These platforms verify your record, grade every play, and showcase long-term performance so you can build real credibility, not just screenshots and hindsight claims. If you're serious about leveling up, proving your edge, and establishing yourself as a professional handicapper, this is where your reputation begins. Just go to theoddsbreakers.com and click on live odds /pick tracking to get started. Join us in your handicapping journey.
I think the Vikings number at 55-1 is a little long just because they were so close to a 1 seed a couple years ago. Granted, there was some noise in that and there was some luck, but a talented roster. I think that is just a little bit longer than I thought. And I bet McVay 40-1. I don't have that many awards yet. Usually I have more. And I'm sure I'll add some between now and then and really start to dive in and get prepped as the season comes close. But McVay 40-1 coach of the year, I just thought was a little long because yes, you win this award, I know, by being the surprise team, the overachieving team. But there's also another way to win it, and that's just by sheer dominance, where Jim Harbaugh, it was John, the Ravens coach in 2019, 14-2 won the award. Belichick, undefeated, won the award. There have been other guys that you just win it with raw wins. And maybe the Rams have one of those teams where, it's week 7 or 8 and they've won every game. They're undefeated. They're winning every big game by double digits. And then McVay gets the credit, and that number's much shorter. Or you got Stafford, who's 39. He's approaching his latter years for sure. What if he misses 3 or 4 games, and then all of a sudden Ty Simpson and McVay's winning games with a rookie backup quarterback, and he goes 3-1 with a backup? Now all of a sudden McVay's really getting the credits. I just thought for how talented the Rams are, 15-20-1, I probably wouldn't bet it. And you probably do have to go 15-2, barring a quarterback injury, something like that. Maybe there's not that surprise team. Maybe McVay can win this at 40-1. Everyone loves him. Media loves him. He's a great coach. He's well-respected, well-liked, all of that stuff. I think McVay, I just thought the number was a little long for McVay at 40-1.
McVay at 40-1 is a long bet. Holy cow. And yeah, you're right. If they're that dominant, especially now with Myles Garrett and that defense, holy cow, the quarterback's going to have to get rid of that ball, which is going to make the secondary that they also improved on look a lot better. They got a guy from the Chiefs. They got some really good free agents there. The Rams somehow just can't make draft picks, but they sure as hell can sign big players, can't they, man? That's a hell of a bet, man. I love that angle. That's a very contrarian angle, too. It's like, I'm not going to bet the new guy coming in because all these new guys might just blend together anyway. It's like, are you really going to give it to Harbaugh for making the playoffs when that's all he does is make the playoffs and lose? I don't mind the McVay bet at all. I think that's a great look right there. And the Vikings, 55-1. I mean, what the hell? Kyler Murray, video game type speed. You still got Justin Jefferson. You got a couple huge playmakers, and Flores with that defense. You said enough. That's a very strong Vikings team that we're all going to overlook. And when I say me, I mean everybody in the public's just going to kind of forget about them, and they're going to kind of come creeping. And that's when teams are at their most dangerous, when they were embarrassed last year. Everyone thinks about the teams that won, but how about a team that's got the better schedule in the division? So I like that a lot. How about exotics? Any long shots? I thought you might have had. Didn't you have the Cleveland linebacker last year for Defensive Rookie of the Year?
I did. I jumped in middle of the year. I didn't have him before the year. I know people got longer numbers, I'm sure, than I did, but I think I had him in the 25-1 range. I was able to get close enough where I was able to bet Imanwari and gave some profit back by betting some of these other guys, but that was one.
Carson Schwessinger.
Yeah, Schwessinger. And I had Jackson Dart too at 28-1, and he got to around even money. And you know how that goes. Couldn't quite get home, which was frustrating, but that's how it goes when you're betting these awards. I was doing the Bear Bets podcast. Jeff Schwartz brought up Jacob Rodriguez, I believe it's the Dolphins, Texas Tech, linebacker, kind of nose for the ball, little Zach Thomas-ish for people that remember him, with the same sort of thinking as Schlesinger. Well, he's just going to be a tackle machine, and I don't know his price for Rookie of the Year, but that might be a fun one.
Oh, I'll tell you one, 22-1, because that was my bet.
Okay.
I love Jacob Rodriguez. I thought he was the best defensive player from a production standpoint in the draft, including like Sonny Styles and the Jets pick. I think that he put up the biggest numbers. And the thing about Miami, and if Jeff Schwartz gave this out too, I totally agree. There's going to be nothing good to say about them, and this is where an award like this kind of awards the team a little bit. And Jacob Rodriguez is going to be making a lot of tackles. You know why? They're going to be on defense all the time.
Sure.
He's still got to win the starting position. I think he does, but they're going to be on defense all the time, and he's going to get a ton of tackles. That's a fantastic bet, and I bet it as well. I didn't bet it big, but I bet it, just at 22-1. So that's at DK right now, and I think you can still get that. I think that's a nice little sneaky bet that people could definitely make. There's a couple other ones like Thielman from Oregon, that safety for the Bears. I'm looking at him a little bit. So there's some fun ones out there for sure, but there's going to be more and more exotics as we kind of dive into this whole thing too. So it's just, remember, when you're betting over in these, especially when it comes to like yards and tackles, health is everything. An injury can bring it down to zero. So, keep that in mind when you're doing that.
Yeah. And I think I used to bet just blind unders on as many guys as I could and do very well. I think they have priced it in accordingly now where, basically if your guy stays healthy, he's going to go over, but if you miss 3 or 4 games, he's going to go under. I think the markets have gotten sharper, but to your point, it's the NFL, it's football. It's a violent sport. Injuries are going to happen. So when in doubt, unders are usually good ways to go, even though it has been priced better, I think, in recent years. Yeah, unfortunately, it's been priced better, right? It's like, I think you hit it on the button when you said it's all based on injury. It's just like, if he just gets through and does not get demoted to second or third string, it's going to go over, right? And if he's injured 2+ games, it could certainly go under. So that's some great advice right there. How about real quick, anything in college? I know we didn't touch college too much with you yet, but we can always do that on another show as well. It's weird to think Georgia's flying under the radar. A few years ago, this was Georgia's sport, but I think they're going to be, and it's not 2022 or 21 where you can just be too deep at pros everywhere. The NIL, the portal has spread out the talent, which has hurt Georgia, but it sounds like there's going to be more of a Georgia-esque defense this year, fewer holes on defense. They've always got skill guys and tight ends and running backs. They get their quarterback back. And if you look at the schedule, Kev, they avoid Texas. They avoid Texas A&M. They avoid LSU. They avoid Tennessee. They get Oklahoma, but they get them at home. They get Florida, but on a neutral. They are at Alabama. They are at Ole Miss. If you split those, very possible you go 11-1, plus 320 to win the SEC. Stockton, 18-20 to 1 to win the Heisman. 9-10 to 1 to win the whole thing. I think those are all pretty good bets. I think Georgia's flying under the radar here.
100%. I mean, the really scary part is that they always lose against Alabama, and they're going to Alabama, but this is a new Alabama team as well, minus Ryan Williams, right? It's like that's a very winnable game for them. I actually have Georgia favored against Alabama in my power executive. I have Georgia favored in every game, but I'm very high on Ole Miss, so I have that close to a push, even though I have Georgia power rated higher than Ole Miss. I have them favored in 11 games, man. This is the easiest Georgia schedule I've seen in a long time. And that neutral game against Florida is actually in Atlanta. It's not in Jacksonville, the biggest cocktail party. So that is another little nudge to them. I'm going to get on that too. I'm going to get on them at least on something there, because I think that this is just too easy of a schedule to avoid. You got to look at the schedule and just realize that Kirby Smart and Stockton, that quarterback, is going to be extremely motivated this year, especially after that embarrassing loss in the playoffs to Ole Miss, to win the SEC as well as to win 11 or 12 games. Well, you're the best. Thanks so much for breaking down some NFL where could our listeners and viewers get your great information?
Yeah, Fox Sports, VSiN, I'm on pretty regularly. Should have bet more podcasts. So I'm around. You can find me at Not the Will Hill on Twitter. Always fun talking shop. Appreciate you having me on.
Make sure you guys check out Will at Not the Will Hill on X. All right, my friends. Well, those are some of the bets that I've placed throughout the year, and we've discussed those on our previews, except for Jacob Rodriguez at 22-1. I like that to make defensive rookie of the year. Obviously, Will's bets are also fantastic, so make sure you take a look at some of those numbers as they could definitely move. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We'll be back soon with some college football. Enjoy the rest of your week and go get some winners. If you live outside of Nevada, make sure you go to footballcontest.com so they can enter all of your picks on time for every single football contest in the state that you enter. Use the promo code OB for $50 off all of your proxy fees.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.